crypto asset? Crypto asset. Which one's the best crypto asset? Crypto asset. Which one's the best? 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 What's the second best?
$200,000 Bitcoin is in the cards this year. I truly believe it. We got Trump live speaking right now. We're going to jump right into it. We got a hell of a basically show set up today. Drew and I here at the front half with Trump giving us a breakdown of what's going on, probably giving us some popcorn in the chart. So we're going to track along with that. We're going to have DZ popping on here in about 30 minutes or so, but we got to see what Trump is saying because there's been some economic geopolitical reshuffling and the markets feel like they're rejoicing. How you doing, Drew?
Feeling great, man. Let's get Trump up here and check out the markets as he's speaking.
Let's go.
See what we got.
I'm going to fast forward it just a little bit here.
Those Republicans, and I meant it. I said, except for maybe a couple I don't love. But the people in this room, I don't know if those couple are here. I don't know. I don't care if they're here or not. But we love you, and you've done an amazing job. You love the country. You're doing what's right for the country. And I want to wish everybody a happy new year, the most successful House Republican majority in decades. And we did it with not a big majority, right? That was not a big majority, but it's a unified majority, and it's people that know what it takes to make America great again.
Okay, S&P 500.
So together we had 12 months of unprecedented success in 2025, and now we're going to make history and break records with the epic midterm victory that we're going to pull off. It just doesn't seem to happen for people that win the presidency. It's an amazing phenomenon. You know, you win the presidency, and we sure as hell are having a successful presidency. I will say that. But even if it's a successful presidency, there's been nothing like what we're doing. We had a very good day 2 days ago, too. But even if it's successful, they don't win. I don't know what it is. There's something psychological, like you vote against. You can win by a lot. We won every swing state. We won the popular vote by millions. We won everything. But they say that when you win the presidency, you lose the midterm. So you're all brilliant people. Most of you are in this business longer than me. That makes me smarter than you. Because look where I am, right? No, it doesn't. But I wish you could explain to me what the hell's going on with the mind of the public, because we have the right policy. They don't. They have a horrible policy. They do stick together. They're violent. They're vicious. You know, they're vicious people, and they stick together like glue. They don't have a couple of the people that we have. A couple of people, not too many, really very few. And that's why I want to just say that before we go any further, I want to express our tremendous sorrow at the loss of a great member, a great member, Congressman Doug LaMalfa, who passed away yesterday, as you probably have heard. And he was the leader of the Western Caucus, a fierce champion on California water issues. He was great on water. He wanted, release the water, he'd scream out. And a true defender of American children. He was a defender of everybody. And our hearts go out to his wife, Jill, and his entire family. You know, he voted with me 100% of the time. And by the way, he wasn't a 3 o'clock in the morning person. Do you know what I mean by that? Where the speaker goes, sir, could you call up? Could you call? I said, what time is it, speaker? Sir, it's 3 in the morning. Could you make a couple of calls? How many? 9. So I'd start calling 3 in the morning. I said, I shouldn't use any names. I'm just going to create problems. But hi, Jim. And I'm not talking about Jim Jordan. I never had a call 3 in the morning for him. But I said, hi, Jim. How you doing? I just called to say hello. You know, 3. Okay, sir. Sir, you haven't spoken to me in 3 years, and it's now 3 in the morning. So I know what you want. You want my vote. And usually almost always they'd give it. But they wanted to be called. And with Doug, I never had a call. He was with us right from the beginning. I love those guys. I must say I probably love them the best, you know, the guys that I don't have to call. They know we're doing the right thing. I have a couple that are going to be with us all the way, but they just want the call. They want love. They need love. They're more insecure than most of you. It's true. No, most of you are secure people. You're all laughing. No, most of you are secure people. I had a couple say, look, I could have Trump call me all the time. I just have to break his ass a little bit. And he'll be calling. But I appreciate those. We actually had a little party. We opened up a beautiful section of the White House in the Rose Garden, and we had a party for all of those people that I never speak to and vote for me. And, you know, I spoke to Doug, but I didn't speak to him about, never had a problem. And I was really saddened by his passing and was thinking about not even doing the speech in his honor. But then I decided that I have to do it in his honor. I'll do it in his honor because he would have wanted it that way. He would have wanted it that way. He would have said, do that speech. Are you kidding me? Do the speech, big guy. But he was a fantastic person. Man, that was a quick one. I don't know quite yet what happened, but boy, it's a tough one. He was just with us. He was our friend, all of us, every one of us. And I also want to send our best wishes to Congressman Jim Baird and his wife, who are recovering from a car accident. They're going to be okay, but they had a pretty bad accident. And we're praying that they get out of that hospital very quickly. He's going to be fine. She's going to be fine, but it was a bad accident. And I want to thank the man who has been central to so many of our triumphs. He really has been. He's the guy that would call me to make those calls all the time. He's always working. And he's a nice person. You know, he's a high quality person.
This video is about,
he's a very tough cookie. I've seen both sides.
He's
not often do I have to see the other
Throw
side.
one in chat if you want me to scoot it forward a little bit.
Very fine.
Maybe he's talking about more
religious.
economical stuff.
He's a religious person. I like that. I like religious people. It usually means they're more honest. Sometimes it doesn't happen that way. I've had some real religious ones that did numbers on me, and I said, I'm going to get them someday.
He's got that war glow going on.
Surprise, but it's usually good. Okay,
you guys
right?
Want me to fast forward a little bit.
And a little shot, but she's incredible. She's a strong, beautiful, great person. She's a great person. She actually liked me at the beginning when we were having little fights. We weren't even having fights. We just did them. Thank you. And I think the broadcast, we said we don't care if the press comes or not. So when I say that, that means that they're broadcasting all this, and I'm letting my feelings out because it's true. I feel that way about so many people in the room. I could say it about many of the people in the room. Some I don't know as well, but many of the people in the room. They're incredible people. You're incredible what you're doing. We also have another one, Richard Hudson, chairman, NRCC. Richard's always in there. Always with a smile. No matter what's happening, Richard. He always has a smile. He's just a positive guy, smart and positive. Thank you, Richard. Really appreciate it. You do a great job. Republican Policy Committee Chairman, Kevin Hearn. Kevin, where are you, Kevin? Thank you, Kevin. Thank you. Did a great job. Every one of you got to be proud of yourselves. And basically the entire House Republican Conference. It's been really amazing what you've done. And we're going to give you some ammunition today. I said, I'd love to make a speech. Speaker asked me, would you make a speech? I said, sure. You think Biden would do that? Would you make a speech? What? First of all, people wouldn't ask him to make a speech because it never worked out well, right? Could never find the exits. You finish, look, stare here, stare there, stare here. You could jump off the front if you had to. No matter what he did, he got himself into trouble. So basically, they didn't ask him to, but if he did, it wouldn't be good. But it's good with me because, we have so much ammunition. We have ammunition. The problem is the fake news. That's why I like being on. I'd much rather do live television than do non-live because, when they say, as an example in my speech, peacefully and patriotically to the Capitol, peacefully and patriotically. Do you know that the Unselect Committee didn't report it that I said those words.
He's still going on about J6.
Reported the words walk or march peacefully and patriotically to the Capitol. Do you know they never reported it? It's a scandal. The Unselect Committee never reported that. They never reported
He's the
that Nancy
king of
Pelosi was
one-liners.
offered 10,000 soldiers.
Oh, today is Jan
Very so
6.
good.
I just
Soldiers,
realized that.
whatever you want. No, I don't want them. And the mayor. The mayors weren't writing. She was more honorable about it. But Nancy got caught when her daughter did a documentary. She's a documentariist. And she has her mother saying, it's my fault. I should have taken the soldiers or something. I saw that in the documentary. I said, whoa, this was a major story. Has she spoken to her daughter since that, you know? But they just, you know, they are vicious people, even on the attack. And it was an amazing military feat that took place yesterday. Think of it. An amazing military. The people are saying, well, thank you. You know, people are saying it goes down with one of the most incredible. It was so complex. 152 airplanes, many. Talk about boots on the ground. We had a lot of boots on the ground. But it was amazing. And think of it, nobody was killed. And on the other side, a lot of people were killed. Unfortunately, I
There's like 80s.
soldiers. Cubans, mostly Cubans, but many killed. And they knew we were coming and they were protected and our guys weren't. You know, our guys are jumping out of helicopters and you're not protected, and they were, but it was so brilliant. The electricity for almost the entire country was boom, turned off. That's when they knew there was a problem. There was no electricity. Caracas, there's no electricity. It's not the only people with lights were the people that had candles. It was just off. So we sort of got them a little by surprise, but it was brilliant tactically. It was an incredible thing. But I watched where Schumer, he's such a bad guy. I mean, I've known the guy for a long time, and he's such a bad guy. You know, at some point they should say, you know, you did a great job. Thank you. Congratulations. Wouldn't it be good? I would say that if they did a good job, their philosophies are so different, but if they did a good job, I'd be happy for the country. They've been after this guy for years and years and years. And, you know, he's a violent guy. He gets up there and he tries to imitate my dance a little bit. But he's a violent guy, and he's killed millions of people. He's tortured. They have a torture chamber in the middle of Caracas that they're closing up. But he's tortured people. And now what they do, the radical left, they actually have people, and it's hard to get them. They're all paid people. Most of these people are paid. You know they're paid when they have brand new, beautiful printed signs by like the highest quality printer, and you have a woman, free Maduro, and the sign is before we even did the attack. You know, free Maduro. Why do you want him freed? I don't know, but he should be free. Oh, she reads the sign. What does that say? It says free. Well, that's what I believe. And you know, you see the sign. It's like, Lisa, we should all have quality signage like that. The one thing I want their sign maker. The guy is great. He does beautiful signage. You know, the old days was better when they used to write out their own sign, wasn't it? They'd make a sign in the basement. They'd have an old broken board holding up a sign, and it's made with a magic marker, sloppy as hell, and it meant something. But today, when you have that yellow and black, they should use different colors a little bit. But the yellow is a beautiful shade of yellow. No, I want to find out who that is. I want him to work for the Republican campaign. He's much better than our guy, whoever the guy is. But the United States proved once again that we have the most powerful, most lethal, most sophisticated, and most fearsome. It's a fearsome military on planet Earth, and it's not even close. You know, I've been saying it for a long time. Nobody can take us. Nobody. We don't want to have it. We don't have a discussion, but you read all and you see everything else. Nobody could have done that. Nobody has our weapons. Nobody has the quality of our weapons. The problem is we don't produce them fast enough. We're going to start producing them much faster. We're going to be very tough on the companies. We have the best weapons in the world, but it takes too long to get them. including allies, when allies want to buy them. And they have to wait 4 years for a plane, 5 years for a helicopter. We're not letting that happen anymore. We're telling our defense contractors, you're going to start building faster. I have a big problem with it. I'm the king. I have sold more Boeings than any human being on earth. They gave me an award, Salesman of the Year. I said, what about Salesman in the history of Boeing? I've sold more Boeing planes than any man in history by far, probably over 1,000. Over 1,000 planes. I said, that's the good news. But why should they wait 3-4 years to get a plane? They should get them immediately. The F-35s, it takes too long to get them. The Apache helicopter. I mean, I had India coming to me, sir, I've been waiting 5 years. We're changing it. We're changing it. India ordered 68 Apaches, and Prime Minister Modi came to see me. Sir, may I see you, please? Yes. I have a very good relationship with him. He's not that happy with me because, they're paying a lot of tariffs now because they're not doing the oil, but they are. They've now reduced it very substantially, as you know, from Russia. We're getting rich because of tariffs, by the way. I hope everyone understands that. They hate to report. We're going to have over $650 billion poured into our country or coming in shortly because of tariffs. They're finding all of these pockets of money. A couple of weeks ago, sir, we're off by $39 billion. Oh, is that good or bad? Meaning, do we have it or are we short of it? Sir, it's $39 billion that we can't account for. That means we have an extra 39. Yes, sir. I said, well, what are you saying? We just don't know where it came from. I said, check the tariff shelf. Sir, that tariff doesn't start until September. I said, no.
We'll bring DZ up in 1 minute and get into all the news as well.
Check it. Comes back 25 minutes later. Sir, you were right. It came from tariffs. This never happened to us before, where we find plus 39 billion, not million, plus 39 billion. They were missing. We've taken in $650 billion or shortcoming. And that's because I'm being nice. If I want to be, and we have national security because of tariffs. And frankly, we have a big Supreme Court case. I hope they do what's good for our country. I hope they do the right thing. The president has to be able to wheel and deal with tariffs. Now,
there's going to be some turbulence over the Supreme Court and these tariffs.
If you have the wrong president, nothing's good. Tariffs are the least of your problems. We found that out for 4 years. We had the worst president, did the worst job. They had the worst policy. We have to even run against these people. Now, I won't say cancel the election. They should cancel the election because the fake news will say, he wants the elections canceled. He's a dictator. They always call me a dictator. Nobody's worse than Obama and the people that surrounded Biden. Not Biden. I don't think it was Biden. He didn't know what the hell was going on, okay? The election was rigged. He had no idea what happened. He still doesn't. The auto pen. And by the way, you ought to make a big deal out of the auto pen. The auto pen was your president.
Oh, Lord.
Because most of the things were signed by auto pen. And you're not allowed to do that. I signed very little. Now I just sign everything because it's just so crazy. But, like I had the other day, we elevated a general to 4 stars. I think you should sign that. That's a big deal. A general did a great job, was elevated to 4 stars. And I had the general in, and I signed it in front of him, held it up. You got to sign it. You can't give it to an auto pen. And you can always tell an auto pen. One thing, it has 2 little tiny dots. You know that? 2 little dots. You know what that's from? 2 pins. They go bing, bing. They're wonderful things. But you got to sign it. And the law is you have to sign it. If somebody's, telling the auto pen person, he has to be authorized by the president of the United States. Well, he wasn't. The guy barely knew the president. How many times did you speak to the president, right? He said 2. And they just spoke about the weather. It was like this. But he was never authorized to sign. And I think 95% of the things were signed by auto pen. You can tell because the auto pen is a nice, clean signature and his signature is a mess.
A lot of things will be undone because of that.
Which is nice. It was Hunter's pardon. That's the only thing that we can find that he signed. Most of it he didn't sign. So somebody's sending papers to sign. And he wasn't the president. First of all, the election was rigged. You ought to have voter ID. You ought to insist on it. You ought to insist on it. Can you imagine? In California, they not only don't have voter ID, but if an official at the voting booths, which they don't have, by the way, because it's all mail, if an official, a voting official, even asks somebody for voter ID, sir, would like to see your identification. Do you come from our country? They put him in jail for tampering with the election. Okay? We got to straighten this out before it gets too crazy. California is more corrupt than any place. California is more corrupt than Minnesota.
This is going to get ugly.
Minnesota, well, Tom's going, I think so. Well, it's close. It can't be proportionately, probably nothing's more corrupt, right? Yeah, right. He says you got to win. I'll tell you
Nice
what,
little 15-minute chart,
was surprised
15-minute candle bull flag on Ethereum.
those elections are corrupt. They got you one time too, but I heard a long time ago, but they got you. But they got to straighten those out. But we have to have voter ID. And you know, when you confront a Democrat about voter ID, like in a debate or something, I said it a couple of times with Biden, and just one, they're very embarrassed when they say, we want voter ID, voter identification. There's the only reason somebody doesn't want that is because they want to cheat. Our elections are crooked as hell. And you can win, not only win elections over that, and not only win future elections, but you'll win every debate because the public is really angry about it. And you ought to pass the SAFE Act, or whatever you're going to call it. Are we going to SAVE Act or the Save America Act? I think we're going to change the name a little bit. You're going to put that up for a vote? I think everybody in this room certainly should do it. And it's a bad vote for them because they're voting against things like voter ID and other things that are almost equal to voter ID.
The markets are liking what he's saying.
No, we don't
I
want
think
voter ID.
it's about time we listen to DZ's hot takes, though, because DZ's got a lot of news
But
that we got to cover.
Save
This
America Act.
pretty good sign for the markets to be pumping as Trump is speaking, though. You remember when he would speak and everything would just dump immediately, Kelly?
Oh, absolutely. He would just, I mean, it was a ping pong for a year and a half of, about a year, especially with the tariff considerations, back and forth, excitement, fear. And I think, especially with Bitcoin and crypto, the expectation that this was going to be a magnanimously, incredibly bullish year last year because institutions were here. So why did it dump? Why did it not perform? In reality, I think we're seeing a lot of the signs and signals that DZ's been talking about, that you've been talking about, that I've been talking about, that it's maybe not a black swan that we saw in 2025. Maybe it was a massive institutional swan where the expectation of overwhelming bullishness immediately didn't happen. So the sentiment is gone. And now all the sentiment is gone. What are we seeing the first 5-6 days of January, the new year? We're seeing bullishness return. We're seeing incredible signs. But I know DZ's got the juice for us today. So everybody hit the like button. Let's throw it over.
All right, first out the gate. Well, I want you two guys, let's jump back on. What did I miss? Did he say anything important? And someone saying, DZ's not going to cover how night's gone down for a week. It's gone down for a week. You lose.
I took away from that speech that there is a large contention coming this year between the Supreme Court and the Trump administration regarding the tariffs and the tariff revenue that we've been taking in as a country. Trump is signaling a demand that the Supreme Court uphold his movements with the tariffs. If we do see this unwound and reversed, we would owe the tariff money back, which would cause a lot of pain.
They have had some oral arguments on this. I've been kind of covering this story a little bit myself. I didn't see anything late. I didn't listen to the speak just now, but one of the justices, I can't recall which one. I don't want to guess here, but one of the justices said in their oral remarks that, unwinding this would be a huge headache, which greatly increases the odds that it won't happen. Because they, believe it or not, it's not all about what is written on some, piece of paper from 250 years ago. Sometimes they actually look at the rules of the road and, what does it take to maybe implement a law, not implement a law. And if it's just a total mayhem, they're not going to do the thing. And it might be total mayhem if they try to unwind it.
Absolutely.
I agree with that. In addition, I mean, propaganda be damned, whether it's left or right. It's happening in every aspect of politics and government and corporate world, the world over. And in this regard, I think Trump has a little bit of a one-up comparatively with any politician probably in history, and how much airtime he gets and how often he speaks. And you and I talk about this regularly, DZ, me and Drew, TJ. Sometimes it gets a little boring saying the same stuff, especially in the crypto market when stuff isn't really happening. We're talking about all these fundamentals and we get exhausted with it. And then I'll look at Trump. I'm like, he literally, whether it's a press conference about X, Y, or Z, he's going to cover about 72% of all the same exact words that he says in every press conference or interview that he ever does. And I think he's really driving that hammer home about the revenue that's coming in from tariffs. But beyond the revenue, I think it's important, especially speaking about what happened with Venezuela, a couple of days ago, is the fact that the national security implications and the leverage that it's provided the U.S. Having these tariffs, and how we can get this sort of, this new Bretton Woods, this new global reordering, getting America repositioned back at the, fully established at the top of the food chain. So I think there's a lot more than just our revenue. Is the tariffs good or bad? Can they be unwound or not? I think there's a lot of other things at play here.
All right. And just for a quick reference, let me add my screen to the stage. It was Coney Barrett, Amy Barrett. It was the one that came up with that. You can see it right here. Commented during the U.S. oral arguments, November 5th, 2025. So this is about 2 months ago, but essentially the word was messy. And it's going to be a lot of logistical complications refunding billions of duties if they rolled that back. So that's kind of what we're looking at. But I'm going to go ahead and start covering the news unless you guys wanted to throw something else on. But let's go ahead and look at some.
I'm excited for the news, man. Trump is stuck in campaign mode. Let's look at how to make some money. You know what I mean?
That's what this channel is all about at the end of the day. Smash that like button if you're ready to retire early. Now let's go ahead and look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin is flat. I did look at the charts there a little bit ago. The charts on the short-term time, guys, I swear to God, this was a neutral candle minutes ago. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes ago. This was green, essentially. And now looking at the 20-minute candle, we're seeing a lot of manipulation. 10 a.m. candle, large wicks. We see it every single time. You can see just, some say it's Wall Street manipulation. Some say it's Jane Street specifically. I will say we see it every single day. Maybe 60% of the time it happens every time, and we're seeing it yet again. Looking at the rest of the market, though, ETH is up 2.7. Solana is up 5.0 there. Cardano with the 3.9. Let me know in the comments if you watched last night's video. Where is my Cardano community? Where's the ADA gang at? Hey, I'm bringing it back. Swee, woo! Look at that Swee pump. Swee is way up. Render is way up. Tau, feeling good about Tau. Drew, are you seeing some of your altcoins here?
Yeah, I was able to grab a little bit of Tau near $200, but the thing that was so impressive for me today was seeing Swee is dark green gainer for today, and the quant in our Discord was very specific about Swee longs yesterday, and absolutely printed. I'm loving seeing the results from the trading group in there.
Yeah,
so huge shout out to the Discord. They're absolutely printing right now.
Yeah, and also I saw a recent Say trade, so that one might be doing pretty well. Midnight's down, Cash is down, Bitcoin Cash that is, and Real Cash. Leo token is down, Filecoin is down, Aptos, and then we have stable coins, RLUSD. Whoa, I saw some nines in there. All right. We'll allow it to the 10,000th there, so we'll allow them to have that little bit of leeway. Let's look at the markets, folks. We have the title of today. We did throw in Trump live. But then after that, why is 180K inevitable? Okay, inevitable means this is happening whether you like it or not, or whether the bears like it or not. The steady bugs, the people out there. I don't want to throw any specific names out there for YouTubers, but the people when we went to 16K saying, well, Bitcoin's going below 10K, going to 3K. The bears are about to be wrong, and I'm about to tell you why. Drew, we got some pretty insane facts. Let me lay out the case for you, and then let you tell me. Where you're leaning. All right. So let's break it down. So Bitcoin biometric, 190% gains, flips positive at 88K. So the signal flash, and the signal has 190% gains historically. So it just happened again at 88K. So at 88K, boom, the green light on the traffic light just hit. So institutions, what are we talking about? This is what we're talking about. Institutions have been net buyers for 8 days straight. A dedicated tracking metric report sustained net buying. When you have 8 days, it resulted in a Bitcoin price upside nearly 110%. And this is since 2020, not since 22 bear market bottom. This is going over the last half decade. Bitcoin's due for a relief bounce after 3 months of losses. So we also got that metric right there. So the latest from Capriole Investments shows institutional buys beating mined supply by 76%. So this is the amount of Bitcoin hitting the market from the miners. Now, what do we mean by institutional buying? We mean corporate treasuries and ETFs. We have 8 green days in a row. When this happens, Bitcoin basically goes up 110% on average. On Monday alone, our excess was 76%. So if we mined 100 Bitcoin, institutions and ETFs bought 176 of that 100. Where's the other 76 coming from? Comes from people having, all right. Well, that's where we start just having buy orders hit the market. Now, historically, we see significant gains in the period after this flips positive versus newly mined supply. So since 2020, 109%, the previous flip sparking a 41% upside. I blew it up right here. This is a 400% gain, 391. So that's a 5x. Your Bitcoin did a 5x. We do have one negative, which is interesting because these people, I guess we were just too exuberant. And then you can see a little bit of a downside. They're like, all right, flip positive, which is interesting because you can see it almost kind of is a lower high, a double top with the second lower high, which isn't bullish, but it is interesting. They flip bullish there, 67%, 61%. And then at the end, the last pump that we got when this had 8 green days in a row, 41% gain. You take the average, folks. We got 110% average. Now, that's not all, Drew. We got one more thing. I'm going to throw it to you. We also got Timmy Peterson. I'll call him Timothy. Tim. We got Timbo Peterson here. He added to the optimistic take. History favors a return above 100K. Why? We had 3 consecutive red months, 3 months of declines. This only happened 9 times since 2015. Let's just go straight to his post. What happens next? 1 month later, we're positive 67% of the time. Drew, this is where it gets better. All 3 negative instances, otherwise it'd be 100%. All 3 were in 2018. And guess what? That marked the end of a bear market. And so, Drew, we're seeing net buyers flip positive. We have 3 months of red. Everything is screaming higher. Do you think this sustains?
Yeah, I mean, really, the thing that out of that write-up that you just went through that struck me the most is looking at this graph right here. Now, how this market has acted so far over the last 2 to 3 years has been a very slow, arduous staircase to the upside, where you run up to a new high, you wash back down to the previous area of high, and just continue walking up.
Yeah, it didn't feel like a stairway to heaven. It felt more like a highway to hell.
Right. And so when we hit that original all-time high, that 68% gain right there near your cursor, that was hitting the all-time high way ahead of time in terms of a 4-year cycle. So, previous to that moment, I was very, very focused as a researcher for Hit Network on the 4-year cycle and writing scripts and a lot of information. When I saw that metric hit, I felt like, oh, crap, is things changing right now? Or the basic roadmap is changing. And then we ranged there for hundreds of days. I think it was near 300 days. So this market, in essence, is acting very, very different. It's like a strung out, larger market cap, slower walk to the upside. And with this, I have came to the conclusion the downside is going to be lessened. The cycle time frame is extended, and Bitcoin dominance will hold higher than it ever has after the fall in its history. I don't think that we're going to see a 30% Bitcoin dominance, but I think that for the right alts, there's a lot of room to run. And the ultimate psyop, DZ, is for institutions to not give us our easy previous all-time high Bitcoin entry points. That would be the ultimate pain for us in the crypto sphere to see that happen. So
all right,
that's kind of the most entertaining outcome.
I like, and the simulation will do the most entertaining outcome. Now, I didn't even notice when I was talking about highway to hell, stairway to heaven, highway to hell. I did bring up 2 of the more popular acts of the late 70s and early 80s, AC/DC versus Led Zeppelin. Drew, you're in a band. What is the choice for you? You can only choose one.
Led Zeppelin. Absolutely. I'm going with Led Zeppelin.
Yeah, I love my songs to have unneeded references to Gandalf and Frodo.
Well, and the hair, man. The hair, like, they just set it off. I miss the 80s hairband era. I was, born in 88, so I missed the whole the whole show, the whole fun of it. I think we should bring it back. We should
Does
try
every
to bring
album
it
need
back.
a reference to Tolkien? Do we always need Lord of the Rings references? I don't know, but Led Zeppelin, they make it work. But hit the like button. Drew, best Lord of the Rings, and why is it Fellowship?
Oh, dude, I liked the Smog. I liked the Hobbit. I liked the Hobbit, the Five Armies. I liked it. I'm sorry. I like the bigger, better battles with the more blood. I'm kind of like that.
Michael Bay viewer.
I
All right,
know,
let's get it. Let's get it back into some Bitcoin charts here, everybody. Bitcoin just had its highest daily close since November 16th, 2025. Like, gosh, has it been that long? It has. Caleb bringing up notable accomplishments here. 55-day. We're going to pull up the 50. We're going to pull up the 21. And he has the 200, but we're going to look at the 100-day moving average because that's going to happen a lot sooner than the 200-day moving average. Let's go flip to the daily. Let's remove the 10 a.m. I do think we're going to cool down here. Maybe that's just kind of our prediction from our symmetrical triangle breakout. Remember, we drew that out yesterday. We look at the top end of the top where it hit the bottom. It's about a line this long. The line takes us to about 102. So keep an eye out. I'm going to keep the cool down here and just see if it plays out, folks. But you can see we have flipped the 50-day moving average into support. I mean, we're almost right on top of that thing right there, using it as a shelf. You see the 20-day moving average also looking this is 21, sorry, also looking very good. And then we have the 100-day moving average is at 96K. So just another level to watch out. So keep an eye out on these moving averages. You see Bitcoin has been respecting. It's been respecting the 100 somewhat, not so much right here. But if you go back, bam, look at that right there. Look at it right there. Look at it right there. We'll look at it right there. The 100 has been a pretty good, reliable indicator. Current price action withstanding, especially if you look since October 10th. So since October 10th, not so good. I think maybe we've kind of reset things enough where maybe the 100-day is going to be something to pay attention to. Who wants some hopium? Drew, do you want a little hopium?
I always want hopium.
Let's inject this hopium like a 70s rock star.
I love it.
In our eyeball.
Straight to the eyeball.
Straight
with the large
to the eyeball.
syringe.
Tyler, I've been purposely not sharing this because he was earlier in this range. We hadn't hit 6 yet, and we hadn't hit 7 yet. 6, 7. I didn't mean to do that. I swear to God. But this is something that he posted in August of 2025. Tyler probably reposts this, I don't know, about once a week. He's like, oh yeah, look at this thing I did, a long time ago. Now I'm getting interested. September, October, November, December, January. I'm getting interested in this chart 5 months later. I got to say, Tyler, you get a little flowers here. So this is a classic Livermore speculative chart, the all-important action of stock A. This is just kind of, probably some guy wrote this 100 years ago, looking at traditional stocks, and you'll see people have written books about this. I'm not the only one to tell you this. You'll see a lot of the same patterns play out. That's why people do TA. That's why they call it brostrology. If you look, we were kind of in the structure. He is saying we're going to have the most insane Bitcoin rally. You can't even expect this. Let's just say this is going to be roughly 30% pump from where we were. And that's going to be, the all-time high, 30% pump from 126. And I'm just kind of doing back of the napkin math there. He's saying look out for $160,000 Bitcoin.
Imagine the cope. Imagine the cope if that happens. And that's like what I was hinting to at the PSYOP design of this cycle. If we don't get that previous all-time high entry point, people are going to be on the sidelines waiting for that. And to watch that happen is going to be absolutely maddening. So this is going to be a crazy year. Absolutely.
All right, you ready to talk about not brass, not lead, Drew, but copper?
Absolutely. I mean, I just got back from the fields there. I was trying to get some more copper for my reserves. Let's see what's going on.
Now, when you say I was back at the fields, you were stripping copper from pipes at undeveloped construction, right?
Listen, I live near Alabama, allegedly. Okay, allegedly.
Okay, all right. Well, folks, if you're in that area and your copper pipes just got stripped, I think I know. Hey, just send me a DM. I'll give you his info. I'm kidding, Drew. You just got to cut me in on the profits. All right, let's talk about Bitcoin here and copper. The bull runs historically began with a breakout in copper versus gold. I don't know how many times we cover this, but I wanted to show you because I identified something different in the charts than this guy is seeing. I guess he does have, he's kind of more focusing on the bottoms. I want to focus on the peaks. but a great line in the sand. Soon we're going to find out what matters more, 4-year cycle or the business cycle. This is what Arthur Hayes has been talking about. This is what Raoul Paul has been talking about. It's always been the business cycle. It's always been the business cycle. Then you got other people, the classics, the purists, a lot of the OGs. No, it's always been the 4-year cycle. You're wrong. There is no business cycle. Before we get into it, Drew, I think it is the business cycle. It's always been the business cycle. Am I wrong?
Well, I think that the business cycles kind of ebbed and flowed with political cycles as well. In my opinion, on purpose, because I'm a conspiracy theorist. The political spectrum has gotten so messy, and the slowdown that we've experienced over the last few years, in essence, I feel like the business ICM data is so beat down. If they don't inject money into the system to get the engine turning on mortgages happening for the single family industry, jobs happening again, then you are going to hit something much uglier than the stagflation of 81.
Okay, just a kind of little summation. Essentially, almost like an election cycle drives a business cycle, and because of an election, they're going to make it easier for people to be in a pro-growth phase. So,
right.
What are you? So, are you saying there is a business cycle, but it's a 4-year political cycle, not a 4-year halving cycle?
I think it was in tandem up to the point of Trump and Biden and this massive political polarization that we've gone through over the last 4 years. But there's other things that are at play that kind of made the market essentially start to seize up. And I think the most important thing is the real estate industry, be it commercial real estate, is getting sold for dimes on the dollar, and single family housing is starting to lock up. That industry is starting to lock up. So you can either do the monetary responsible thing and hold interest rates high as inflation's coming back, or you can fake the data, say inflation's low, bring the interest rates down, and then inject liquidity to get the market turning over again. But honestly, like, Bitcoin's never seen stagflation. So we are going into the unknown with how Bitcoin's going to react. Gold is already reacting the way I expected it to. The question in my mind is Bitcoin old enough and respected enough to move in tandem with gold as a protectionary asset?
Smart enough, good looking enough, and gosh darn it, do people like it? Let's talk about copper. Do people like copper? Yes, compared to gold. So copper, gold, and Bitcoin, a macro signal to watch. We got another macro signal. It's not just net buyers for 8 days in a row. A rising copper to gold ratio signals a shift towards risk on conditions historically precedes major Bitcoin rallies, especially after prolonged downtrends. Now this ratio has broken out of a years-long decline. Copper's recent outperformance versus gold may support a Bitcoin rally into 2026. Throwing the 4-year Bitcoin cycle in the freaking trash, pissing in the trash, taking the trash, throwing it out your window on the highway, and then having a Tesla Cybertruck run over it repeatedly, and then doing donuts. And then you poop on that and you set that on fire. That's what it's going to do to the Bitcoin cycle. Is that too much?
I think that's just right. I think that's just right.
Just right. Hit the like button if you agree. All right. Copper, heavily tied to industrial demand, tends to perform well during periods of economic expansion. Gold, in contrast, defensive asset, typically outperforms during periods of greater uncertainty and slower growth. So you're like, all right, well, the tide's about to shift. Let's build a bunch of buildings, sell our gold, and build buildings and make businesses and invest in the economy. And then you're like, oh God, it's about to turn the other way. Let me sell my businesses. Let me, sell, all these other things. And let me just start hoarding gold and get, out of companies, out of equities. So let's look at the chart. Let's just go straight to the chart. I thought that was a mixture of Guga Foods and George from Cryptos Are Us. That, if you know about those people, you're like, oh my God, DC hit the nail on the head. All right, so I wrote down, look at the peaks. Look at the peaks. So what are we looking at here? So we're going to go ahead and hide Bitcoin for now. So what we're looking at is gold and copper. Wait a minute. I pulled this chart up in October 2025. When I, looked at the other stuff, I had some writing on there. I was looking at Ethereum compared to this chart 3 months ago. And so the data, when you look on the weekly, is still holding firm. And what I noticed then is we get weekly bull divs, and these weekly bull divs typically kind of signal the bottom. And then that's when copper gains against gold. So copper gains against gold, copper gains against gold. Right now, we're kind of at a pretty low level. Let me just be a little bit fair here. Maybe lower, right? Maybe we go lower. I'm not saying this is the bottom. I don't think we go that low, though. I do think people are going to start buying more copper than gold. That's just kind of my prediction. So I think this is about as low as we go. But now let's throw in the Bitcoin price chart. And what you're going to notice is, let me make sure I have it on log. Yeah, I have it on log. What you're going to notice is the peaks. The peaks are almost more important than the bottom. So now I'm just like, okay, so where are we going to be with this chart? So when you look here, look at the peak of Bitcoin, November 21. Look at the peak of copper right there. Pretty crazy stuff, Drew. Now keep going. Look at the peak right there. Look at the peak. Look at the peak for Bitcoin. Look at the peak for copper gold. Also, wow, okay. And then you could do it again. And then now Bitcoin is invented. So now, now we're going too far back in the data. What about the bottoms? I notice the bottoms maybe are a little delayed. So when we bottom, we start, maybe we're not done pumping. We find a bottom. Bitcoin continues to pump for 500 days. Holy crap. All right. But let's see. Let's measure the delay. But Bitcoin took a while. Bitcoin's really kind of pump it almost a year later. So when Bitcoin's going to pump, I don't think anyone knows for sure. But I look at this chart. I do see strong correlation. 100% see strong correlation at the peaks. And so since we don't have a peak for copper gold, how can we have a Bitcoin top? That's my question.
Yeah, copper kind of represents business activity getting ready to start back up again for me. And this copper to gold chart is very, very interesting to look at.
That's just a classic bull div right there.
Right. And this is on the weekly time frame. So we're looking at a lot of data for Bitcoin and copper comprised against each other. Very nice combination here, D. I think that, making sure that the industry, the economy, not just Wall Street and the stock market is ticking all-time highs, but they have to get the economy back into shape. They have to get business activity running. And what we're about to see with the infrastructural expansion is going to demand a lot of copper. So when we think about the metals that are going to be used to produce data centers, to produce manufacturing facilities, things like that are going to be showing some major peaks. And I think it's going to last for a good 5 to 10 years. I mean, it's almost like the New Deal. It's the new deal with AI. That's what I've been kind of calling it for a while. And it's finally playing out. What a psyop though for people if this market takes off right now, leading into what's supposed to be a bearish year, it's gonna be a lot of people watching on the sidelines crying, man. It's gonna be crazy.
Can I tell you what probably the smart people are looking at here? I think the smart people are looking at the delta, the gamma, the vega of Bitcoin options in relation to Bitcoin price. Drew, is that too boring to spend like a minute kind of explaining?
No, I think that the people that are here are very, very locked in. And so I think the deep dives is kind of how we make the money when the chips are down, when the sentiment's down. That's where we're at right now, even though we're above 90K Bitcoin. A lot of people are giving up right now. And I think the people that are here are locked in and ready for this information. So,
all right. Good. Well, folks, lock in for 90 seconds because I'm going to tell you why Bitcoin's going to start pumping. A lot of this is like, all right, well, Trump this, and China that, Venezuela this, DXY that, gold copper this. This is what smart money is looking at. This is what the billionaires, the Bill Ackmans, the Jamie Dimons, the Larry Finks, this is actually what they're paying attention to. It's not that other stuff because they probably have that already priced in. This is something that is a little bit more fluid, a little bit more dynamic. This is maybe the most important chart when it comes to Bitcoin. Do you notice what's changed since January 1st when Bitcoin started getting consistently bid? What are we looking at here? So what we're looking at, let me throw it up. This is wings, cheap or rich, puts and calls. What the heck are we even talking about? So put calls, I've kind of explained this. I got my little, the little DZ helpful thing, the please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. You call someone up, you put someone down. So calls, the blue, they're betting on it going up. Puts, they're betting on it going down. Well, you notice the calls, kind of, it is what it is. The more important thing is the puts. The puts are heading down, but I don't want to get too sidetracked, but we're looking at wings. So we are looking at puts and calls, but we're looking at the wings. Wings basically means the outer rims of these bets, the really, really crazy bets. Okay. So you're like betting on something going 2x, or you're betting on something to like decline 50%. It's just going to depend on what, but you're looking at the outside bets. Not everybody, oh, I'm betting on a 1% move to kind of cover a hedge or a call. You're looking at the big money. So this chart or this post says, do you know what changed? But they're quote tweeting his article and chart here, the one chart that explains why Bitcoin won't go up. You go into his Substack. The Substack, this is pretty dense. This is pretty crazy. I read it so you don't have to. And I was like, all right, so what's the main takeaway? So I highlighted this right here. Bitcoin natives, the OGs, they're the net sellers of Delta, but more critically, they're the net sellers of Vega too. I'm going to explain this. I'm going to make it easy. Vega matters more than Delta. Let's just say Vega matters more. It's actually okay, blah, 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 blah. Vega matters more. Let's just kind of break this down. Delta, Vega, what the heck do they even mean? Let's back the truck up a little bit. Delta, just so your exposure to stay balanced. Think shorter term. I'm betting on it being higher next week as I'm selling. So I sell, but I don't want to look like an idiot. So I have like a small bet on it to go up. I kind of hedge, and I'm like trying to get like a little 1 or 2% arbitrage. Vega is going to be exposure to volatility, because if you're betting on something tomorrow, probably not that volatile. So typically, this isn't part of the definition. Typically, Vega is going to be more related to an option 3 months from now, 6 months from now, a month. It's not going to be for what's tomorrow. So Vega, think exposure to volatility that's a little bit longer away, further down the calendar year. So Delta is your short-term exposure to stay balanced. Vega is a volatility measurement, and think longer term. They're saying the OGs are net sellers of Delta, but they're also net sellers of Vega. So net sellers of Delta, they're selling these future obligations. So when, some big billionaire wants IBIT, he has to settle an option. All right, well, Bitcoin's going to be this price in 5 days. You need someone on the other end of that bet. So you got these big OGs. They're the net sellers of Delta and Vega. So the buyers are buying options. The OGs are selling it like, all right, you want to bet on Bitcoin 5 days from now or 3 months from now? I got you, Jack. What does this mean? Well, we're seeing the wings, they're being less expensive. You can see the price, the wings cheap or rich heading down. What does that mean? When wings are expensive, less manipulation, less stasis, because basically these wings are kind of keeping it in a stasis mode. They're compressing the ceiling, compressing the floor to prevent Bitcoin from having good moves to the upside or the downside. And when you look at the chart, you'll see big money is flipping from long to short. You can see it right here. You see the shorts are shrinking, longs were down. Now longs, don't look at the blip right there. Mostly look, the shorts are decreasing. So big money is flipping from short to long, and the wings are expensive. Now we're getting less manipulation, because if it's expensive, I don't want to bet on that because I might lose my shirt. When it's cheap, you're like, all right. So now it's less people suppressing a price 3 months from now. I know it's a little complicated. I tried to explain that, simplistically. Hopefully I did. That's a lot more important than people are giving credit to. You heard it here first. I don't want to go too deep into it, Drew, but I don't know if you had any thoughts.
Well, it plays into the manipulation that we're seeing play out right now, and washing the chart back down in a forceful manner to reset prices. The institutional bringing the boat back for themselves. I think that it in general, we've been so manipulated, so beat down. People are kind of basically just checking out, and they're assuming that this is going to be bad for a long time. They forgot how quickly things can turn around. And just look at gold. I mean, gold it was over a $20 trillion market cap before this last pump, right? So it's added trillions and trillions of dollars. This altcoin market is like what, $200-300 billion market cap in total when you really are looking at everything outside of the top 10 projects. So if we do see any sort of influx into risk assets from this moment that we're at right now, that's going to matter exponentially for the altcoins that are so beat down. People are out there selling at a loss right now. Just be careful about that, because the PSYOP, I keep saying this, is real. Institutions want you out of your position before they institutionalize this thing across the board, before they offer the staking. And, now Ethereum staking is going live. Things are starting to move in that regard. They can't really keep this thing padded down forever. So It matters. It definitely matters.
And guys, yeah, if you want to learn a little bit more, yeah, check out Jeff's Substack. He really breaks it down there, and hopefully, not everybody's going to be interested in Delta and Gamma and Vega. And honestly, I don't blame you, folks. But that's kind of the Wall Street manipulation game. They love that people, on average, just aren't interested in it, and a lot of it's going to be a cognitive issue as well. But I digress. Let's talk about Bitcoin ETF inflows. 3 months, the biggest inflow in 3 months. Institutional bid is back, baby. It's back in a strong way. $697 million on Monday. You add in Friday, 1.2. I'm sorry, no, the first 2 trading days of 126. Yeah, no, that was the Friday the 2nd. So you throw in Friday, 1.2 billion over 2 days. Extended outflow periods historically aligned with local bottoms, and with the flows flipping back into positive and recovering Coinbase premium, meaning Americans are willing to pay more, is suggesting capitulation conditions are now fading. Looking very good for Bitcoin, folks. That is what I'm going to say. Eric Balchunas has a take here. First spot ETFs coming in like a lion. 1.2 billion in flows. First 2 days of the year with everyone eating. That's $150 billion yearly pace. Told y'all, if they could take in 22 billion when it's raining, pissing in their face, imagine when the sun is shining. And now the sun is about to shine. You don't have to understand, what exactly all that meant with the charts and the Vega and the short. Just realize, all right, well, Wall Streets are not as short as they used to be. They're reducing their shorts. And when you think of reducing the shorts, they're eroding away the ceiling, keeping Bitcoin suppressed. They're like, they're basically, it's a paper mache, and every time someone pulls a short, they're ripping a strip of paper off the paper mache ceiling. Because Bitcoin, it can drag and uppercut that, it can Ryukin that thing. And next thing you know, the gains could be a lot higher. And at Drew's point, the altcoin gains are going to be even higher than that. Let's see here. Gold is now overtaking US dollar, the largest global asset reserve. Drew, a lot of this is probably related to gold's value. Gold has doubled in price. So, you're going to see, I want to say this is going to be, this is percentage. This is actually percentage. So this is, still going to have a little bit to do with gold's price because, you're going to look at the percentage of, the monetary value. Still very telling, I would say. And gold is rising. But what do you think is happening more sharply? Is dollar falling harder or gold going up higher?
Yeah, I mean, the dollar is trying to find a moment of support right now. And after the latest kind of actions from the U.S., the dollar's not really in a position where I think it's going to cataclysmically fall down. But nations across the planet are bolstering their own central bank reserves with gold, right? And this has been happening for a long time. The loss of trust between these nations in general is in long term a good thing for Bitcoin because it's a place where nations can also look at in tandem to gold to house their value outside of the U.S. hegemony, right? The U.S. hegemony is undeniable, especially with the Venezuela move. Nations are still going to want to look for a place to park their money like gold, and now turning into something like Bitcoin. Luxembourg came out last night talking about their bullishness on Bitcoin and moving in. So it's not just nations that have their backs up against the wall, like, El Salvador
like
did.
Mystical.
Right. It's now established nations that are looking at Bitcoin seriously as a part of their backing of their currency. And as trust erodes on currencies, this is all just a good thing for Bitcoin, I think.
Oh, yeah. There's going to be a little sliver. It says BTC. And eventually this thing starts growing more and more and more and more. And if you're a Bitcoiner like us, you think, one day, it might be by far the largest. Not only the largest, but maybe by far the largest. But I'll tell you what's going in the wrong direction as far as reserves. America's Bitcoin reserve just shrunk. And you could think Southern District of New York, the feds in New York. Let's not get side. I know me and Drew could probably do a 2-hour stream just off the top of our head on the SDNY. But this is from, it's being reported that SDNY and the Department of Justice has sold the Bitcoin that the Samurai devs paid as part of their plea deal, even though Executive Order 14233 mandates forfeited Bitcoin be held in the Strategic Bitcoin Reserve. Let's pause right there. We're going to look at Cynthia Lummis's response. We're going to look at Patrick Witt's response. He's deputy director, basically of our Bitcoin strategy. What does the executive order say? It's establish a Bitcoin reserve, It mandates no sale of Bitcoin. It does cover some accounting and transfers. You got 30 days to report, you know, if you seize it from a criminal. You got a month. Get that reported. It does say an altcoin stockpile. It doesn't say, you know, we're going to have any initial purchases. And you cannot sell digital assets except as authorized. So it's not only Bitcoin. And now it does look like SDNY has sold Bitcoin. I haven't seen the latest update. So Cynthia Lummis, she said she was going to look into it. This Patrick Witt also said he was going to look into it. I want to hit refresh and see, have they done anything this morning? I don't know if they've done anything this morning. Hit and refresh here. Let's see. Oh my God, I don't mean to make light. She's talking about the passing of her friend an hour ago. All right, well, I wish you well wishes, Cynthia. Focus on that. That's obviously much, much more important. And we look at Patrick Witt. Please don't have, my dog died. I should make fun, but nothing new. We are looking into this. It does seem like, so we're waiting on breaking news. Drew, where's this end up? Are they going to keep selling?
Yeah, this is a thing that is probably going to be a partisan issue, probably some inside actors moving against the grain.
It does speak into the, let's just say, the direction of the Fed. You know, what kind of, I don't know, maybe the word is, do they need to be reined in? Are they just acting like vigilantes within a government institution?
And then that's what we're kind of at. It's, you know, we have the Fed, the Treasury, and the executive. All, you know, the Treasury and the executive, I think, are in tandem lockstep. The Fed, not so much. And the DOJ, I'm sure that there's pockets that are basically immovable objects outside of crazy executive action. But the framework of the reserve still, it's not going to excite me until they talk about more than just confiscation, right? Confiscation is something that we would do in any sort of criminal investigation, you know, criminal enterprise, you confiscate the assets, right? Its design as it sits right now is just similar to the 1930s Gold Act, in my opinion, where they're just excited about taking Bitcoin out of bad actors' hands, holding it. But if they're selling it in the background, you know, a lot of questions can be asked. This timing right after Venezuela's, you know, basic movements from the U.S. and the rumors about how much Bitcoin Venezuela also holds. Maybe that's a past tense now. Maybe they now don't hold that Bitcoin and we have more leeway to sell. Who knows?
Let me give you the number one reason why we need this, Drew. Our debt just hit a new freaking record high. Obviously, it's probably going to happen about every day except for a tax influx day. But national debt hit a new high, $38.5 trillion. Our debt to GDP ratio is now over 120%. This is maybe the worst part. Interest payments on our debt now exceed $1 trillion annually. And so we're adding $1 trillion just by essentially credit card interest for the American economy. Interest payments hitting $1 trillion annually is a lot of money, folks. It's a whole lot of money. And I have found the solution, Drew. I know the solution. Maybe better than Bitcoin. Maybe I just got to get Shroot Bucks, man.
Absolutely. I mean, that I've always called Hex Shroot Bucks because it felt similar. But honestly, like
this is why, though.
I think the debt's going to be 50 trillion in a short amount of time.
Yeah, and it gets worse when other people don't buy our debt. We're kind of buying our own debt. 70% is owed to domestic lenders, while the rest is overseas. Japan primarily with their low interest rates, China and the United Kingdom. This is going to be part of the Japanese yen carry trade there, of course. But 70% of our debt is just in-house. It's like, imagine a household. They're borrowing up to the gills, and their interest payments are insane. But they keep buying new SUVs. They're leasing. You know, they got the new Xbox. They got the new Switch. Meanwhile, they're in debt, and every month their debt situation gets worse. How bad would it be, Drew, if inside the same household, the dad's borrowing from the mom's borrowing from the eldest child, the child is ransacking the youngest child's piggy bank, and 70% of the dollars are coming from within the household. That's how crazy this is.
Yeah, and it's like, we're at a situation where, you know, the tariffs are a slight help, but they don't get close to actually reversing course on this debt. But, you know, some of the concepts that I've been thinking about in terms of a Bitcoin hybrid bond and the outlook of the upside of Bitcoin gives more allowance of better backing to the debt that the U.S. currently has to move forward and create new debt with. the current system, unless it's completely replumbed and redone, is going to be based on debt moving forward. It's an unfortunate reality of the world. Best I can
So
hope
what
for.
is your thesis there? Is your thesis that the government will sell bonds that have like 5%, 50% Bitcoin or something?
Yeah, I'd see a 10% Bitcoin exposure to a US bond that, when released, will essentially cause a black hole of interest from nations across the planet, because you're not just getting the 5 or 4% on the US dollar on 20 or 30 years. You're getting the sureness of that 4 to 5% on the US dollar and the US empire existing that long, but also the long-term upside exposure to Bitcoin. And where we're at right now, we're communicating online, where commerce, payments are moving online. This invention of person-to-person payments, and then the expansion of crypto and altcoins to run this at an infrastructural level to corporations, is basically a sure shot in my mind. Unless the internet goes out, now we're at a point where we communicate, we transfer value, and we have a system now that's made more robust, quicker finalization of payments. It's an easy look for me to see the upside of Bitcoin over the next 20 or 30 years. If you pair that in with the surety of the US empire, you're going to have nations across the planet pour into those. Any nation that doesn't have it, going to fall behind.
I would just take the other end of the bet. I don't see the government. Maybe a private, company presents exotic packages of treasury bonds. Sure. I just can never see the U.S. government selling a bond where 10% is going to be tied to Bitcoin exposure, because they're like trying to plug the holes in the ship as fast as possible. And so you're not going to take, you want 100% of the spackle from all the people. You don't want to take 90% of spackle when you're trying to cover these holes, because Bitcoin is better and you might sell more spackle 5 years from now or something. I
can see the reason in that approach. I just think that 90% take, if you increase interest by 5-10x on that, because lately we've had a hard time selling treasury bonds. The treasury auctions go unanswered oftentimes, and with Japan unrolling, Japan's our biggest holder of treasuries, right? And Japan's at a structurally important inflection point right now, where they have to sell the treasuries, raise the interest rates on their own central bank, and kind of the fun is over in the yen carry trade situation. So you need to find a new pocket of treasury and US debt buyers. My mind goes to adding a little bit of incentive that, okay, 90% in US treasury, 10% in Bitcoin, you're going to get a higher influx of interest in that long term. That's my thesis on it, but I can see where you're coming from.
All right. I do like it. Yeah, a lot of people talk about render. Do you have any render exposure?
No, I got out of render at a much higher price a long time ago, and I haven't gotten back in. I did see render was one of the bigger movers. A lot of Solana coins are the bigger movers this morning, which is nice to see. We're not out of the woodwork yet in alts, but I did see render moving, and even Polygon transactions going nuts as well.
Polymarket, man. People are getting a little excited in Polymarket. The last only time I've touched Polygon in at least 2 years has been for Polymarket. And I don't have any other reason to use Polygon, and probably a lot of people are feeling the same way. Now, I do have a great second order effect story here. Not first order effect, second order effect. The butterfly flaps its wings, you get a tsunami. That's kind of what we're talking about here. Drew, before we get it, you know about have you taught your kids about the butterfly flaps its wings? You get a monsoon in Asia or whatever.
I have touched on the subject matter. It's like what they do, the good that they do or the bad that they do, has a effect much farther than they can imagine.
Yeah. So if you spit on the homeless guy, he'll stab you 4 hours later.
All right. Or he might stab an old lady.
Positive way. You do something nice. You hold the door open for somebody, they pass that on, and then, nice little butterfly effect, everybody. Not the Ashton Kutcher movie. Great movie, though. Big Four accounting firm. This is the second order effect I'm about to break down. The Big Four accounting firm, PwC, steps up its crypto efforts amid clear U.S. regulation. CEO revealed that the company has decided to lean in to crypto-related work, citing stablecoin legislation and the broader pro-crypto shift amongst U.S. regulators. Very important. Why? Now the company has been pitching customers on how to use crypto. They're not just saying, yeah, if you're a crypto company, when you call us, we'll not tell you no and hang up on your face. Now they're calling other people, a regular non-crypto company. Oh, you got to integrate crypto, baby. They're pitching customers on how to use crypto, including stablecoins, to boost payment system efficiency. Does this push towards stablecoins come from our U.S. debt situation? If you're conspiratorially minded like me and Drew, you probably think like, yeah, maybe some top-down orders are like, we got to start pumping out stablecoins, everybody. But this is a huge second-order effect. Second-order effects are much more important than first-order effects. And if you think about how something reverberates, if I, it kind of escalates and escalates and escalates. I think we got a meme here. We do got the meme chaos theory. Let me zoom out a little. A butterfly flaps its wings, which stirs pollen from a flower. This causes a steer to sneeze, and then that triggers the herd to stampede. This changes the local wind pattern, causing a thunderstorm to form, and then storms produce lightning bolts, which kill the butterfly. I don't know if that's how the end usually goes. Maybe they changed the ending there. I want to give you the misdirection. But the second order effects are going to be much more important. The first order effects, Clarity Act. Second order effects, this accounting firm. Down the line, that's when you start seeing, oh yeah, Amazon can put Bitcoin on their balance sheet. They couldn't do it before because an accounting firm would say, well, we're not going to do your corporate taxes if you do that. Well, I got to use one of the big 3 or 4 firms. Yeah, but if you touch crypto, we're not doing it. Good luck. You will get audited because we have connections to the State Department. The other auditing firms don't. And this, to me, is very, very, very bullish for crypto.
Yeah, I mean, thinking about stable coins rolling out in aggregate. I mean, a lot of these stable coins, again, this all goes back to how the US is using crypto not only to give a stronger backing for more debt to come, because they are going to make more debt, but also the stablecoin industry. There's been a lot of verbiage within the market structure bills to make sure that these stablecoins are backed by US debt as well. Another way to expand the treasury interest, another way to extend the US dollar's lifeline, So that's how I see it. We're basically enslaving stable coins and crypto that we can to extend the US life cycle. That's
it's we're keeping the music playing, but it's 2 monkeys with cymbals inside the DJ booth.
Right.
That's fun. Hey, people are gonna keep on. Hey, I'll do the YMCA. You know what I mean? I'll do the Trump. He's turned it not. Anyways, let's move on, everybody. Let's move on. I'm not gonna say. All right, ETH IntraQ now 237x higher than the XQ. Insane demand for staking ETH. I have some of the numbers, and we're gonna look at the on-chain present numbers. So the XQ is drying up as the staking demand surges. The XQ was 224 ETH, roughly 6-minute wait time. Huge decline from mid-September when there were millions waiting to unstake, 2.67 million versus 224. At the time, IntraQ has now surged to 1.3 million. This is the highest level since mid-November. And let's look at the numbers. Let me hit refresh. I'm sure their API is good. I just want to do it anyways. Wait time, 19 minutes. So it went from 6. All right, so the XQ, that is still an insane number. 1379. We'll just say 1.4 million. And since we rounded up, I guess we can round up here. We'll say 800. So 1.4 million and 800. 1, 2, 3. So 1.4 million divided by 800. It was what, 237x? Is it 237? 237x. It is now, drumroll please, way higher. Maybe I did. I'm not. That's 1.4 million. 800. All right, that looks a little suspicious, but still great numbers there. And Grayscale has their new first ETH staking payout. I think their number's wrong because I'm looking on chains. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Who knows? But ETH new staking ETF also very, very bullish for Ethereum. Ethereum going to have a great year 2026. And it's not just Ethereum. Morgan Stanley targeting Solana. I might have to do a Solana video tonight. I did Cardano, and everyone's like, you only talk about Cardano. It's the only altcoin you love. So maybe they deserve a Solana video.
Absolutely. And the stories you just covered, these ETFs that provide staking incentive, this was the nitrous oxide in the gas tank we needed. I talked to insiders from BlackRock's crypto investment side, a VP BlackRock crypto, some Grayscale insiders. This was the linchpin that they were mentioning a year and a half ago that we really needed to see altcoins go ballistic. We just saw it get solidified. Now we're starting to see the rumblings on the altcoin charts. I think it's coming, man. I really, really do think it's coming. So the stories you just kind of covered are, I've been waiting for this moment for a really long time. I'm excited about it. So.
All right, you guys ready for a link bullishness here? I just asked, what do you guys think about Arbitrum? I do like Arbitrum. The Arbitrum tech, maybe it's not as good as OP stack. I'm not a developer, so I'm not going to really weigh in on that. It's just what a lot of people say. OP is better for developers, but ARB is better for the whales. It's better for the guy with $1 billion worth of ETH that wants to use Aave for, high volume stuff. And so what do I think about it? I think it is favored by the ETH whales, but I do think it's an increasingly competitive field, which is ETH L2s. And so that is something to think about. It's going to be hard to grow your piece of pie, your share of ETH L2s when people keep throwing on more and more flavors and another flavor here, another flavor there. So it's just so competitive.
Yeah. And, ARB, it's like, it seems structurally important, but it doesn't play out in terms of price. You know what I mean? I kind of saw that even in 24, when the movement was there across the board for alts, ARB's integration was there, but the price didn't quite translate. So I never held ARB. Actually, I think I did when it originally came out. I made a little bit of money, got out of it quickly. I just think that exactly what you said, too much competition makes for kind of muddy water, essentially. So.
All right, let's hide the Bitcoin. We got it right here. We can look. It probably has broken that downtrend, which I think is good. And I will say this, a lot of the weaker alts touched the October 10th crash. This didn't. So I would say it's kind of just a heuristic for positive or negative price action. If you look at it that way, it's like, yeah, now it's probably going to go up, but this screams to me, take profit, take profit, take profit.
Yeah, we're not out of the woodwork. And it's kind of like your positioning. Like if you got in early, you took profits on those obvious initial pumps. It's done well at times, and you have moon bags working for you. That's fine. Crazy super chat, stuck in New York crypto trading. So for ETH layer 2s, limited. Man,
yeah. So he just has like limited things that he could use. So
yeah,
if you were to slip and fall and land on your phone and you type in VPN, that would be terrible. But maybe that's something to look into. Of course, all local laws, rules, regulations should be adhered so pristinely. There's no room for any kind of error or judgment there. Let's talk about Chainlink. I'll show you. So I saw someone talking about 21-day moving average. Let me just check. I got the 21-day up. 21. I got the 21. I got the 21-day up. They're like, oh my God, the 21-day moving average is so good. And I put up the chart and I saw this need second, third day bullish divergence. It's for a Chainlink video that we did probably 2 weeks ago, maybe 3. And this hasn't happened yet, right? This is weeks ago. This is 3-day chart. I noticed, and if you watch that video, you saw it as well. Chainlink doesn't pump after one 3-day bullish divergence. It normally takes a second one, and that creates basically blast off zone. See, this 3-day bullish gave you some good gains and would be a higher low, but it was the second one that really gave Chainlink the legs needed for a bullish rally. And if you look, I didn't have this on there. I just noticed this today. We may have our second 3-day bullish divergence for Chainlink. I'm just saying historically, folks, this has been the bottom reverse indicator. And I looked at the 21-day. It was like some big art. It was posts and articles. I was like, all right, let's talk about the 21-day. 21-day means jack all. Okay, it doesn't really mean much. I guess it means like, okay, a little bit of support there, but like, how much? Okay, a little bit, but it really isn't any kind of like, it bounces every time, it dumps every time. It's kind of just broadly tracking the movements, I would say. I wouldn't say there's too much value, too much alpha there, but the 3-day bullish is a lot more actionable, in my opinion. Drew, you're the Link Marine.
Yeah.
Did I just make you like, oh my God, you want to do 20 push-ups right now?
Chainlink, it makes sense for me as one of my main holdings because I have strong confluence that Chainlink's positioning is going to continue. Chainlink is what is connecting the current internet to what we're building in Web3. And to think that we don't need an intermediary is getting ahead of ourselves. So price action be damned. The longevity is there for Chainlink. You know, I tried to hammer in when we had October 10th and I saw the price is like $8. The exchange blocked me off of getting more Chainlink, unfortunately. But as things sit right now, I have seen nothing that's broken my general long-term thesis of Chainlink and having its day in the sun. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if when we actually do institute regulatory clarity, the requirement of reserves to be proven on chain, that Chainlink rises above many of the projects that are in front of it right now. It's currently like the 10th biggest actual crypto outside of stable coins, but the market cap's like $10 billion. I could see Chainlink at $100 billion if we get true regulatory clarity, the proof of reserve side play into this as well. And Swift has only gone live with ISO messaging right now. They haven't even gone live with the actual like hardcore testing of cross-chain interoperability protocol within Swift. We haven't seen that big switch be flipped yet. So
yeah, me and Drew are saying 26x, 27x is coming. Guys, you ready to 25x your Chainlink? We're not saying 25x. I am saying, though, we will pass previous all-time high of $50, $55.
Yeah. I mean, it's a swooping set of higher lows, and that's in the face of a very, very aggravating last year and a half or 2 years in altcoins. Like, it's held those positions at $10 with very strong conviction. Outside of October 10th getting barely below that, honestly, man, it's a setup of higher lows and an infrastructurally important altcoin. So outside of Bitcoin,
yeah, you got that mixed signal though. To be fair, you also got the lower highs. You have the higher lows, but you got the lower highs. So now we're getting a little mixed signal here.
It is, and that's why I look at the fundamental positioning of Chainlink. Is it still a useful, required project for us to see crypto adoption go widespread? The answer is a hardcore yes, and I covered patents that Wells Fargo are doing on oracles and how this actual technology is going to be implemented. It's all happening. It's just a matter of who gives a damn while the prices are down that can find that information. So.
Max Payne, we don't pump till September of 2027.
I would be there for it though. That's the funny part about this is like, you know, I've been in Chainlink for multiple cycles and we could try to time out the tops of these markets till the cows come home, but being in a project for a long time that you only buy when it's at its worst moments, its worst hours, ends up paying out exponentially. It's just about refusing to buy the tops. Don't top blast and you'll be fine, right? That's kind of my approach.
Good job on the 50 push-ups. We need 50 more likes before we wrap it up. So everybody go ahead and smash the like button. I'm going to go ahead and work on a Solana video. I think there's a lot of alpha out there. We got to kind of do a deeper dive with Morgan Stanley and actually identify, is Morgan Stanley's ETF going to allow staking? What is the demand of staking ETFs versus non-staking ETFs? Is this actually going to matter? My opinion is I do think they're going to want staking yield if you're a value investor, typical Wall Street investor. So everybody smash that like button. We're going to be back with a afternoon stream. And Drew, have you decided basement or not?
Oh yeah, we're going to do the basement. I got Iran revolting. I got all kinds of craziness going on in the world. There's plenty to talk about today. I'm pretty excited about it.
Big news day, folks. All right, we'll see you in the future. DZ out.
We just wanted to take a quick second to shout out our sponsor, Arculus. They are a cold storage hardware wallet, helps you secure all of your digital assets for the future. Just tap this thing to the back of your phone and boom, you're in. We wouldn't be able to do this without them, but also wouldn't be able to do this without you guys, the Disco fam. You've supported us a lot over the years. If you want to support the channel now, just use the code DC20. It gets you 20% off this card. It's the #1 way you can support this channel going forward. Thank you for your support. We'll see you at the top.